So, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, Mr. Magandi is not here today, so we're not going to hear anything like hella dope.
Yeah, is it part of load shedding as well?
He decided to load shed today.
Yeah, no, he took over my job.
No, Stan, you are on fire. You know, the way you use the language. I'm saying load shedding, and he said he decided to load shed. Today you are on fire.
He's not playing today.
He decided to load shed, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. So, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, today's topic is very interesting. We are talking about suffering and relationships.
Yeah.
So, and Dr. Mabila Mathebula, is suffering part of life?
Stan, I think we'll be given a poetic license to say suffering, although we're supposed to say suffering.
Oh yeah,
it's not a problem. We'll. I think we'll be given a poetic license.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. The reality is that suffering is part and parcel of our lives. You know, in other words, suffering is inevitable. You know, it's synonymous. Well, if I have to use your preposition once more, it is synonymous with life. Once you have got a life, that life must be accompanied by suffering. I think I've answered your question.
Yeah.
Right. So, you see, suffering, Kitu mates, right?
Time to go to school, guys.
It's part of our life. So you live with it. And the interesting thing about what we are going to talk about here with Dr. Mabila Mathebula is that he's going to, it's not to give you a lesson, right? Because we normally dissect, the words first.
True.
So that we are able to understand exactly what is it that we are talking about, right? Now, have you ever found yourself in a state in which you're saying, "Ish, I am actually suffering" in any relationship that you had previously? Before we go to Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Yeah, I can say I've done that. Well, not done that. I've been through it actually. Excuse my English. Yeah, I've been through it. I've been through a couple of sufferous moments with some people. Either it was the lack or none in terms of intelligence or emotional intelligence in the relationship. Lack of communication. It was quite sufferous sometimes. It was quite insufferable sometimes actually. When there's lack of communication, because you never really know what the person's thinking or what's going through their head and all that. And like it's hard, especially when you're trying to be like a supportive partner in the relationship. You're trying to support somebody, but literally you have no idea. Basically, you're in a relationship with a stranger. That's quite hard for most people, especially most people who have a high EQ. So yeah, I think I've been through such.
Okay, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Yeah, well, I could agree with him more. That we all suffer. At the hands of people, things, situations that obstruct the full flourishing of our lives. But the problem is we often deny, repress, and ignore this reality. And then to an extent that we end up living, a forced life. We end up putting a mask that is not authentic. And then at the end of the day, our lives begin to stagnate and close down because we are denying the reality that we are suffering. I'm suffering, you are suffering, we are all suffering.
And this is on some level where both inside ourselves and in a relationship with others, Dr. Mathebula.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Within ourselves, with others, we all suffer. Suffering is inevitable. It has got nothing to do with your status. It has got nothing to do with your beauty, whether you are a handsomest, whether you are a beauty queen, whether you are moneyed or highly salaried. We all suffer.
What is it that happens to our life?
Yeah, I'm saying everyone suffers, from the following, you know.
Mm,
Firstly, unmet needs.
mm,
You have got needs that you want to buy a car, or you want to buy a second house,
mm,
or you want to do something, but those needs are not met.
mm,
You know, neglect
mm,
and deprivation,
mm,
outright abuse. There are some
mm,
people who are actually abused. They suffer because they're being abused.
mm,
They're being used and abused.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Economic, socio-economic hardship. Like, for example, we are living in a very weak economic climate globally.
mm,
That's part of suffering.
mm,
Broken relationship,
mm,
Broken people.
spiritual and as well as emotional turmoil.
mm,
Sickness and disease. There are so many people who are in hospital,
mm,
lying in bed,
mm,
who are physically tired and mentally debased. You are people who are sick at home. You are people who are, walking but sick and diseased.
mm.
Those are part and parcel of suffering.
That we come across. Now, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, growing up, we find that our family and cultural experiences actually taught us something. What is it that it had taught us?
Well, I think our family and cultural experiences is a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Mm,
It's taught us, scripted us to do everything to deny our suffering. That you need to deny our suffering. And then ngaruvenda vari ukondelela,
mm,
you are suppressing it. You don't even have to tell anyone.
mm,
Very hard and paste a smile as though everything is okay. How are you? Fine. I'm fine. Well and good. Whereas inside you are actually suffering.
mm,
Now that's how we have been actually socialized. And then or work out or head or work out our head and frustrations on others. In other words, when you're actually frustrated, you have got someone to blame.
mm,
And this is common, within the black family, whereby instead of looking for vertical solutions, we look for horizontal solutions. That the mere fact that Stan is coughing today, someone is responsible for that cough. It means that some people consult even prophets would actually say to them, today you are unemployed not because of the economic climate. You are unemployed because of Mabila.
He has
Mabila has
bewitched you.
Your friend. If for example you call me Stan, I don't even answer your phone because someone had told me that I'm being bewitched by my friend. I'm being bewitched by my partner. I'm being bewitched by my close relatives. I'm being bewitched by my neighbor. It's for this reason people who look for vertical solutions more often than not, when they're actually facing challenges, they end up being alienated. They end up creating their own prison. Because you don't trust anyone anymore. You live in your own prison, and living in that perpetual prison is going to create a lot of problems because you have got self-doubt. You don't trust anyone. You can't actually share your pain with anyone because you have got your own prisons, because you tend to solve your problem vertically instead of looking at the problem horizontal, where you can look at a therapist, where you can actually pray, where you can share your problems to God.
And is that the reason why we then are addicted to cover the pain, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, we are addicted to cover the pain, because when we have got a pain, in order to deal with the pain, if you are not going to deal with your pain vertically, you are going to deal with it horizontally. And now you end up, being addicted, to either alcohol, you are addicted to sex, you are addicted to drugs. And then you must actually understand, if you are addicted to sex, drugs, or alcohol, those things are insatiable. You cannot be satisfied. That's why you'd actually find that the person who's actually addicted to women, he can actually have 100 women, he can have 10 women, he can, make love to them. He's never satisfied, because he has got an addiction. It's not about love making, it's not about as you always say, that it's not for procreation. You like you like it, or enjoyment or so. But this person is addicted. It's an addict. He's actually pathological obsessed with sex. Now that's an addiction, because it's showing that this person is dying inside, and then he shows the pain inside through addiction.
So outside of our lives, we might look good, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. But does the hurt and the wounds remain if we don't attend to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People have said, previously in the show that more often than not, people have got hidden wound, and a hidden wound cannot be healed. Unattended, wanting to be healed, they may continue to vex, irritate, or rankle at, because you have got a wound that is actually hidden. It is hidden, and then that wound will fester, and at the end of the day, that wound will kill you. That's something that's going to happen to you, because you have got a hidden wound. You have got a pain that you don't discuss with people, that you don't show, that you don't actually share. Now, at the end of the day, that pain will kill you.
Hey. So it's very interesting. So in this case, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, now you've got a pain, you've got an unbalanced mind, and then all sorts of things actually happen in your life. Now, the wounds, that you actually have in your life, right? What is it that does it come in the form of what, so that people can then be able to know it and understand?
Yeah, I mean, the wound, as I'm saying to you, has been hidden, but you know that it's not healthy for you to hide a wound. The pus and the poison of an unattended wound will ooze out, and there will be some symptoms to actually show that this person has got the wound, and this wound is not yet healed, but we can actually see from the symptoms. And maybe you'd like me to say, what are those symptoms?
Please.
Yeah. Firstly, maybe one of the symptoms here in insomnia, whereby a person does not actually sleep. You go to sleep, but you can't actually sleep. Or maybe so many hours you don't sleep. Maybe let's take, for example, you go to sleep at about 10 o'clock. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. You only sleep at about 5, and then at 6 you must wake up. That is insomnia. And then also stomach knots, where you have got stomach pains. And then you also have inexplicable, skin rashes. You have got a rash on your face that you can't actually even explain. And then you have got recurring ailments. This person is perpetually sick. Today, this, tomorrow is that. Like you have got these ailments, recurring. And then inflexible shoulders, and then anxiety attacks, and then haunting nightmares. This person has got nightmares when this person is actually asleep. And then general, irritability. It's, this person is easily, angered. The anger or the rage. And then splitting headaches. Headaches. You go to the headache clinic. Shallow breathing. Depression. Phobia. Phobia. Like for example, when they see a cat, it's a problem. Knowing discontent. These people are not actually content with anyone. They are not content with their boss. They're not content with their spouses. They're not content with their children. They're not content with the country. They're not content with the economy. They're not content with their pastor. And then their relationships are static. There's no improvement. And then they've got inability to commit. They can't commit to anything. They can't commit to a relationship. They can't commit to a job. When you hire them at VMC, they are there for a week. After a week, they don't even come to work. They can't actually commit. And then finally, incapacity to love or be loved. This person cannot actually love. They move from one relationship to another. They can't love. You could actually say, you know what? You don't have a wife and you are over 50 years. You need to get a wife and the like. Even if maybe you talk to that person would not listen to you because he's not capable to love or be loved. He can't even commit, regardless of the age. Like if you've got a relative who doesn't have a wife, who's in his 60s, and you have been trying to talk to him, and then you couldn't actually succeed. It means that this person has got a hidden wound, and that hidden wound is shown because the person cannot commit. So even at VMC, when you actually employ someone and the person does not commit, you must actually understand that you are dealing with a hidden wound.
So, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, so when a person is suffering from the above, like what you have just mentioned now, and they want to seek some kind of relief, what is it that they resort to?
Yeah, that situation is very uncomfortable even for them. And then more often than not, they seek some relief and diversion from the above symptoms, and then they resort to the following: overeating. A person is overeating, always eating. It means that the person is dealing with that problem, or undereating. The person, does not actually eat a lot, or sexual addiction. This person will actually move from one woman to another or one man to another. This person is always making love to people, but he or she's never satisfied. Or alcohol. A person would actually be deeply engrossed in alcohol, or drugs, or gambling, or compulsive rituals, and disastrous relationship. That person can actually have a relationship and hurt you now. To him or to her, hating a person, it's not a problem. They can actually destroy a relationship now. It doesn't affect them. That's the form of healing. That's how they get their healing.
Now, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, I just have two questions here, right? The one is from, he says his name is Alpheus. He said he thinks one of the problem is that when growing up, we are told that a man is a cowboy and must not cry.
Is it a question or a comment?
It's got a question mark though. Yeah, he said.
Yeah, I think I understand exactly where it's coming from, because we talk about the hidden wound. That you have got a wound that you are actually hiding. You are hurting inside, but you can't actually talk it out. And I think that's what he's actually saying, that a men do not actually cry. All those things.
Okay, now.
And then the way we have been socialized that men must be strong, even if maybe you feel that you are hurting, you don't actually express it. And I fully agree with him. It's socialization. It's how we have been socialized. It's how we have been scripted.
Oh, okay, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, there's also a follow-up from Alpheus. It starts with a question mark, and then it says, especially in front of people.
These statements or questions?
Yeah, in front of people, because you don't want to be embarrassed. You want to be seen to be strong. You want to be seen to be bold. And then you are pasting a smile. I fully agree with him. We have never been taught to express ourselves. We have never been taught to express our feelings. If a man does that, people will label him and say, kusindoda lena. Bheka wenzani, we are color in front of people. Or maybe he has got a different sexual orientation, that's why it's like this, and that's a wrong script. We need to learn how to express ourselves. Even Jesus Christ, when he looked at Jerusalem, he cried because he was human and he was expressing his feeling.
Hey, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, and then there's Katu. Katu is actually okay, it's a statement, I think, but there's also a question at the end. He says that I agree that Munalili, but does it mean that I cannot go maybe in a closure? Okay, I think maybe he wanted to say in a closet to cry. in a closure. But okay, let me write there. I will read as he wrote here. He said in a closure. I think he's saying it's in the closet.
Yeah, well, as long as it's going to help you to heal, you can cry. As long as you feel that crying will actually heal your situation, you are at liberty to cry. As I said to you, Jesus looked at Jerusalem and he cried. And he was not actually embarrassed, and by crying, it was actually part and parcel of healing, because he knew what was going to happen to Jerusalem. That's why he had to cry.
Oh, okay. And then another question from somebody who actually did not sign it off. Okay, it's just asking Dr. Mabila Mathebula to say how do I deal with my problems, especially as a man.
How do you deal with your problem? First, we need to understand exactly what your problems are. What we can say is you either deal with them vertical or horizontal, as I've said. Like the vertical situation is the situation of consulting a therapy. And a therapist, I mean. A therapist who's going to take you through the problem, who will actually understand the problem, who will actually, move from the cure model into a love model, where you can actually go together and be free to express yourself, understand exactly where you come from. A person is going to empathize with you. That's the first place, And other people, they decide to take the horizontal route, where they'll actually go and consult a prophet or a medical person. And more often than not, those people are very manipulative, because they are going to say that, Stan is the cause of your problem. And once you start believing that, you are creating your own prison, and you'll never come out of that prison. And then I strongly suggest that the only way to deal with your problem is the vertical way, where you seek professional help, where you can actually, like example, there are some pastors who are actually ethical, the word of God will actually encourage you to pray, will actually also encourage you to meditate. That is the vertical way of dealing with your issue.
Okay. Lastly, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, another one is asking if where is it now? Oh yeah, the other one is asking if suffering is part of our life.
If suffering is part and parcel of our lives, he's asking that question.
Yes.
Yes, it is. That's why I said suffering. It's suffering something inevitable. You can't run away from suffering. For example, you might actually think that you have got everything, you have arrived in life, and then only to find out your mother dies.
Exactly.
You are going to suffer, or your spouse dies, or something like that. The mere fact that you are going to mourn, the death of someone. Mourning is part and parcel of suffering. So it's something that is inevitable. It's part and parcel of our life. That's why. I often say to people that you need to understand why you have a partner. Stan, at times, maybe you saw your wife and you were attracted to her when you were actually young. But when you become mature, you understand, why do I have a wife? I have a wife because I've got a cross. I've got my own cross to carry, and she has got her own cross to carry. Now, when I'm actually carrying my cross with my wife, she relieves me, and say, but now it's too heavy, and then she carries my cross on my behalf, or I do vice versa. And then, but if, for example, you are going to have a girlfriend, and the girlfriend comes into a relationship, she has got her own cross.
Yes.
And then you end up being overwhelmed, Now you need to actually understand why you are in a relationship. You are in a relationship because someone is going to help you to bear your cross, and you're going to help her to bear her own cross, because life is not going to be fair, and life is not going to be easy. And that's what the church is supposed to emphasize. Like, for example, we're actually approaching Easter. They're talking about Jesus on the cross. But we have got an invisible cross that we carry as people, as human beings. And it's up to the pastors to impress upon people that you also stand. You have got your own cross that you are carrying.
Oh, yeah, no, there's just a follow-up question. It's a comment from that very same person. He says, no, Dr. Mabila Mathebula and Brastan. He's calling me Brastan. he says, and
What is he saying? I couldn't hear. What did he say?
He said, yes, it is true, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. It is, you see this thing now. He says, no, I was laughing at the fact that he called me Brasten. He says, Dr. Mabila Mathebula and Brasten, it is actually very comforting because sometimes when I have problem, I think that I am the only one. So that, hence I was saying if problem is actually, suffering is part of our problems.
Yeah, everybody suffers. There's no one who can escape from suffering. Even our president Ramaphosa, you may look at him; he has got his own cross to bear. He has got his own suffering.
No, thank you so very much for that, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. Today we don't have the quotable codes in our cabinet, but we have a vocabulary cabinet, Dr. Mathebula.
Yeah, because vision is not there.
Yeah, vision
Who's
is
going to read for us?
Kitu will read for us vocabulary cabinet, Kitu.
All right. I think the first word is debilitate. To make a person weak. Right? Example, COVID-19 is a debilitating pandemic. And then the next example, heat debilitates many people.
You have to read that slow because I'm hearing something else.
Heat debilitates many people.
Heat debilitate many people. That is the quotable quote that we have. So debilitate is the word, right? Yeah. So what does it mean, Kitu? It is to actually worsen the situation.
To make people feel very weak.
Very weak. So so it that's what it means. Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Hi, Stan, Mr. Stan.
Yeah, you heard what Kitu read here. He says debilitate is to make a person weak.
Yeah, and he gave two examples. For example, COVID-19 is debilitating a pandemic, as well as it debilitates many people. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. And I see there are some, I see some people are typing, but they are not finishing typing, so it looks like they're typing.
What's happening? What is happening today, brother?
No, you touch the nerve. You talk about suffering. So, and I think the challenge here, you said everybody suffers.
Stan, do you still remember in the 80s?
Yes.
When there was what bubblegum music?
Yes.
There was a song. I don't know.
We're suffering. Yes, I know.
Yeah, yes, true.
Yeah, I remember the song, Dr. Mathebula.
Yeah, all of us suffer. Your pastor suffers, the president suffers, everybody. Your manager at work suffers. Everybody suffers.
Now, thank you so very much, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, for coming through. We are going to make a podcast out of what we have discussed. But before you go, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, this is the Ilogofisho Hipopokunoras show. We always feeling Ilogofisho Hipopokunoras on this particular show. And we are so esoteric like that. That's why we use such words as we are having a gargantuan day right at VMC Planet Radio.